Well, hello everyone. I have to say good morning, good evening, good afternoon, because we have people joining from across the globe today. So, whether you're joining early in the morning or you're just winding down your evening, a warm welcome to this exclusive pre event webinar for the Drug Safety Symposium 2025. As in we community of pharmacovigilance, we are at a very pivotal movement currently, where we are talking about integration of artificial intelligence, we are talking about automation, we are talking about a regulatory shift uh, across the globe, and this is all these aspects are currently redefining uh, how we ensure drug safety. This session, today's pre event webinar, and the entire 2 day conference, it all uh, presents you with an opportunity to understand this global trends. And this session offers a sneak peek into what thought provoking discussions and breakthrough insights we are going to talk about that will sort of reshape how we think drug safety in the future. Uh, very recently, I visited two important events in the Middle East. One was Dufit and one was the Arab Health. When I saw the transition in both the events, I could see a clear shift that, you know, AI is no longer the future of healthcare, it is the present. We are witnessing the industry's wide shift change towards making AI a part of their role. And this is not away from the PV professionals as well. Professionals want to stay ahead of this curve, and at Drug Safety Symposium 2025, we will tackle these advancements head on with practical case studies, understanding what is the importance of AI, how we can embrace AI, how we can talk about automation, etc. Drug Safety Symposium 2025, as you all know, is happening on 12th and 13th of February at Holiday Inn Dubai Science Park. And before we move on, let's talk about what is the agenda for today. We are talking about artificial intelligence in pharmacovigilance. We are talking about how AI is transforming drug safety with smart insights. We will talk about the future of AI and what's next for this global safety monitoring. And we will also talk about a very important aspect, that is clinical affairs and pharmacovigilance, the integration of the two. How can we sort of bridge the gaps for better risk management? In this interactive webinar, I urge everyone to please engage, please ask questions, challenges, talk about your challenges, and that's how we will take the discussions forward. So, this is just a small beginning of a larger industry defining conversation that we will witness at Drug Safety Symposium 2025. And now, let's get started. Uh, to begin with, I invite our first speaker, and he is Professor Moin Don, founder of PVCon. Dr. Moin has over 33 years of experience in pharmaceutical industry. Pharmacist by education, Dr. Moin is one of the most well-known pharmacovigilance professionals in India. He has rich hands-on experience of practically every facet of industrial pharmacovigilance. While serving with reputed international pharma companies like Sanofi, Aventis, and his last assignment being with Johnson & Johnson as regional PV and QA director for Asia Pacific. Dr. Moen has undergone extensive training in the US, Germany, France, Singapore, and he is a certified lead auditor. Today, Dr. Moen will be speaking about artificial intelligence and how AI in pharmacovigilance is transforming drug safety with smart insights. Let's invite our first speaker, Dr. Moin Don.
Hey, so
Good morning.
good
Good
morning,
afternoon to you.
good afternoon, and Vishali, as we said yesterday, So I think I will need your help in navigating the presentation what I have already given it to you, right?
Okay.
So I have sent you a PDF. So
Yes.
if you can navigate through the PDF, so I will start because we have very limited time. So how many attendants are there right now?
Uh, I actually, my team will take care of it because I am on the front. I do not understand the.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
I'm fine. So good morning, good evening, everybody. I think it is. I don't know from where else
We
people are
have
joining.
around 43 attendees logged in so far, 43, 47. A
43.
lot of them are attending in groups. So that is the reason, you won't be able to see them.
No, no,
Uh,
it's okay. It's perfectly okay.
yeah.
It's perfectly
Thank
okay.
you.
So, welcome to this program, and I'm privileged to be invited for such a program of learning, and especially the topics which are today currently the most hot and most discussed topic. And pharmacovigilance is a passion with me, and this I have been pursuing for last more than 40 years. I think my previous CV says 33 years. I
Yeah.
started my industry journey from 1976, when most of you probably might not have been born. So it is more than 45 years that I have been associated with pharmaceutical industry, and to be precise, with pharmacovigilance almost from 2000 onwards. So it is 25 years in pharmacovigilance alone, right? Now, the time given to me is so short that, you heard that iceberg. So, the tip of the iceberg also, it will be very difficult for me to cover in 20 minutes or 25 minutes that has been allocated to me to explain to you what is artificial intelligence and how this is being leveraged in pharmacovigilance activity. So I will not waste more time on preliminaries, and I will directly start with my presentation. So let's go to the next slide. And this next slide is very important, and I think it will give you some sense of what artificial intelligence is all about. So you just take this example. A person posted a question to Chat GTP that I'm taking these four molecules and I have been having dry cough. So is there any possibility that one of this molecule probably is responsible for my this side effect, which is dry coughing? And immediately in a jiffy, he got an answer that one of the ACE inhibitors, what you are using as a part of the regimen, is responsible for you. And that's why you should talk to your doctor so that he can replace or he can give you something else. So, how this artificial intelligence or how Chat GPT actually worked around this? So, now the Chat GPT or the artificial intelligence has all the information. They have all the SMPCs and PIs for this particular four molecules which were put in front of them. And from the SMPCs, the artificial intelligence picks up that particular molecule where the SMPC very clearly mentions that this particular molecule can cause dry cough, and that is the ACE inhibitor. And that's how immediately within a minute's time it answers you that which is the molecule which is responsible for your dry cough as a side effect for the regimen what you are taking of four molecules. Okay, so that in a nutshell how technology and artificial intelligence is going to work, and it is going to be part and parcel of life, and especially our healthcare scenarios. Next slide, please. So this slide, what I'm trying to explain it to you, just next slide, please, Vishali. Yes. So, let us understand the human intelligence vis-a-vis artificial intelligence. A lot of people are very afraid and concerned that is human intelligence will be totally replaced by artificial intelligence, but a very clear answer is no, because uh, the artificial intelligence is totally dependent on data, information, which is created from human intelligence. And this human intelligence provide this particular data and information, and based on the artificial intelligence, based on this particular data, so the people who are working on artificial intelligence, they create algorithms, they create machine learning. So artificial intelligence is a failure without human intelligence, right? So once this data is available to artificial intelligence, then only artificial intelligence starts working. And then intelligence is not intelligent enough to find out how to do until and unless you create algorithms, you create how to analyze this data. And once you create the algorithm based on the information which is available, which is provided to this artificial intelligence, it gives the deliverables to all the end users. So it could be questions about signal, it could be question about expected ADRs, or it could be questions about expectedness or listedness and causality analysis and so on and so forth, right? So that's how artificial, I mean, all those youngsters whom I meet during my conferences and when I attend webinars, there's a lot of concern among the youngsters that they are going to lose jobs, and then one day will come when artificial intelligence will totally replace human intelligence and human being, human capital. That is not going to happen. Yes, there could be something else, that we will be more smart, we will be more fast, there will be reduction on redundancies, there will be efficiency and real time this thing, but human intelligence can be never replaced by artificial intelligence. Next slide, please. So that's what I'm mentioning over here, that human intelligence, artificial intelligence cannot be like, or it cannot be equal to human intelligence, right? Because artificial intelligence depends on human intelligence, and until and unless we provide data and information, artificial intelligence cannot work. And not only that, we need to provide algorithms, and we need to provide the machine learning part of it, and then only artificial intelligence start working, and it starts giving you results what you are really looking after, or you are looking for. Next slide, please. So this is a very important slide for all the pharmacovigilance professionals who are attending this particular meet. So just let's see the 2030 projection for pharmacovigilance. So the pharmacovigilance market is growing at the rate of 15.4, and it is expected by that 2030 it would be close to $25 billion. So this really speaks well and it augurs well for us, that we have a lot of work, and we are going to have a lot of jobs with us, and these jobs will definitely earn us money, and there would be requirement of a lot of pharmacovigilance professionals in every segment of pharmacovigilance, which I'm going to talk to you in my next slide. So this is the good news. Please don't get disheartened that artificial intelligence is really going to reduce your job and you will be out of the job. Please, this data is very important, that pharmacovigilance market is increasing at the rate of 15% annually, right? Next slide, please. So when we talk of data, this is a very busy slide, and I have the next slide, which actually gives you a gist of data. Today when we talk of data and we are talking of metadata or we are talking of big data, it will give you some idea that what are we talking about and whether this data can be managed humanly. And you would agree with me that such huge data cannot be managed humanly. And that's why, technology and artificial intelligence in particular, it comes to our help. Can you imagine that there are more than 15,000 molecules in the market? There are 6,700 molecules under development. You can just imagine, or you can just see the FDA is being reported how many? They are getting more than 2 million ICSR, and in vigilance, there is 2.5 million ICSR in vigilance. And similarly, you can understand number of calls received by call center and number of ICSR. You will be surprised to know this is a very important thing for people who are in India. India is now become the big outsourcing hub for most of the big pharma companies. And we are today processing 3 million cases in a year, which is almost 80% of the ICSR are being processed in India alone. Okay. And there are other databases. So when you go to literature search, you understand that you have to have, I mean, all the regulatory authorities today want you to have international literature search. So you either go to PubMed or Medline or Embase or Reaction Weekly. And once you talk of a simple molecule like paracetamol, and when you search for paracetamol, you get hundreds and thousands of hit just by typing paracetamol. So naturally, all these hundreds of thousands of hits which you get paracetamol are not really relevant for what you are really looking for. Then there again here, artificial intelligence comes into picture that you have an algorithm play in place and you would like to define that what sort of hits for paracetamol or for any drug like metformin you are really looking for on a weekly basis, because this is a requirement by most of the regulators that you would do international literature search on a weekly basis. Next slide, please. So just go to the next slide. Yeah. So I have just summed up, that what it means in terms of data. And you can just see, if you see the lower mesh that, you have almost these numbers which I have added up, it adds up to almost 200 million number or data, whether in terms of molecules or in terms of ICSR, or in terms of hits which are there, or in terms of abstracts, or in terms of literature article which are there in PubMed and Medline. And there is much more which is not known. Okay. So if you add this unknown entity or quantum to this 200 million number, you can agree with me that humanly it is not possible to manage such huge data. And that's why technology comes to your help, and artificial intelligence is part of this technology. And how it helps, naturally, in 20 minutes time, I cannot talk to you or I cannot give you an example of each and every segment of pharmacovigilance which is affected today, which is enhanced by artificial intelligence and technology. So I will be just talking, or I will be giving you few examples so that it makes very clear to you that where we are heading and how technology is now ensuring and assuring and helping all big pharma companies to be regulatory compliance, to meet the regulatory compliance. This is very important. So as most of you, as I suppose that you are all into pharmacovigilance space, so you know that when we talk about pharmacovigilance, is start from receipt of the cases, then recording, documentation, process, analytics, then exchanges or reporting to various regulators and your business partner. And it is at various level, and you need accuracy and you need time compliance, right? And also quality. So this is not possible without technology, and it is not possible without artificial intelligence. So let's go to the next slide, please. And here, what I have tried to explain it to you, that what are the various pharmacovigilance. PV looks a very small terminology, pharmacovigilance, right? But it is a big juggernaut. So those who are working in the industry, those who are part of CRO, they might have heard of PV, but when they try to analyze and dissect pharmacovigilance, there are so many departments, there are so many functions within a pharmacovigilance function of a big pharma companies like Johnson and Johnson or Abbott, and probably not many people know. I mean, I always keep telling this example to my students and my juniors, that some of the KPOs in India who are working for big pharma clients, they have almost 1,000 people working for case processing of only one company. Okay, so one company, they need 1,000 persons for this particular uh, case processing of only one company. So you can imagine how many people must be required for processing of so many cases which are being received by most of the pharma companies day in and day out. And this case processing is not only the pharmacovigilance part. Okay, so I have gone from top to down, top to bottom approach. I have taken, you have management, that is the headquarters, safety board, QPPV, and affiliates. Then you have end-to-end case management of ICSR from all possible sources. Then you have literature search, and with the help of all the cases what you receive, you prepare aggregate report, which could be PSUR, papers, or PADers. And with the help of all this, your next step in the quality chain is signal management. The signal management is very important from the label change management point of view and risk management point of view. That once you have a new signal, then you would like to have whether a whether a PI or whether SMPC, you have to make changes, or you have to make changes in investigators brochure. And then in case if the signal is so harsh, or suppose there is a very serious adverse drug event which has been identified, then how you would apply your risk management techniques and additional risk management measure in addition to your regular pharmacovigilance activities. And then of course you have your legal issues where you have agreement and SDAs with your partners. And of course, not to forget the training and development of all the people who are part of pharmacovigilance function. I have worked for big pharma companies like Johnson and Johnson and Dr. Reddy's and two more companies, and you would be surprised to know that in their headquarters there are 400 and 500 people who are working only for pharmacovigilance function. So this is very unthinkable or unimaginable that you need such type of mankind, man force, to handle your PV function efficiently and to be compliant with the regulators. Next slide, please. So I'm not going to take more time because I have been given only 20 minutes. So my next slide, when you have technology and AI at your service, so managing the data becomes much more simpler. Okay, there's a lot of automation. It reduces manpower. The speed is much faster. It is much more accurate because some of the errors which come into because of human handling, they are reduced. Then we reduce the redundancies. Then the data which is available is now the real time data. So it gives a pharma company good time to take decision to decide whether this particular molecule should remain in the market or it should be withdrawn, or whether there should be some labeling changes, or whether there can be a black box warning. Okay, there can be a DHPL letter being sent to the prescriber. So this can happen in the real time, which was not possible before technology and artificial intelligence came into being. And then secondly, very important, the tasks which are beyond human management, as I told you before, and compliance tracking, whether are we compliant with our own SOPs, whether we are compliant with our own KPIs, and we are compliant with regulatory timelines in terms of reporting timelines, and also the quality of reports which we provide to big regulators like US FDA, MHRA, BFARM, and so on and so forth. Next slide, please. So, next one, please. Yeah. So, you have softwares now for ADR reporting from devices. You have databases like Argus and RSG. Then you have learning management system. Then you have document management system like Viva Vault. Then to top it all, you deploy artificial intelligence and machine learning. Then you have cloud-based, SaaS-based application, and then you have e-data enabled tools, and that's why your work is reducing, your paper load is reducing, and all that is increasing into efficiency and the cost, and you are in much better position to be compliant, and also you can take decision in real time. Now, I will come to really my last two slides or three slides, which will give you some understanding that how artificial intelligence can help you in case processing, in literature search, and in signal management. So let's go to the next three slides, which will be my last three slides, right? So next slide, please. So see, case processing, I have all those case processing labels which I have shown you there. So basically an ICSR process, as you know, you receive the cases, you do the triage, you do the documentation, you do the quality check, you do the medical assessment, then you do the regulatory assessment, and then it is finally reported to all the stakeholders where you are supposed to report. Just take example of a triage, how during this particular process your artificial intelligence can be of your help. I think you will not be surprised to know that there are some pharma companies who are getting ICSR on a daily basis, which goes into thousands, right? Now, naturally, these thousands ICSR, there would be some valid ICSR, there's some invalid ICSR, there would be some non-serious ICSR, there would be some serious ICSR, and there would be some duplicate. Now, if I want to segregate this into two baskets, because if my ICSR, which I have received as a marketing authorization holder, it is a serious ICSR. If it is SUSAR, which needs to be processed within 7 calendar days, and if it is post-marketing safety, unexpected, serious adverse event, which needs to go to all the stakeholder in 15 calendar days, is it possible for me to process all those 1,000, 2,000 cases which I receive on a day-to-day basis? So the answer is no. So here is the artificial intelligence which comes into play, that in my database, I have employed or deployed artificial intelligence, which defines that how to differentiate between a valid and invalid case, how to differentiate between a serious and non-serious case, how to find out a duplicate case. So when I deploy this artificial intelligence into my database, so naturally 90% of the lot which I have received, which is consisting of either non-serious or invalid or duplicate cases, are kept aside, and only those 10% serious cases are highlighted to me during the triage. And then our case processing unit on priority take up these cases and start immediately processing them, because they are supposed to go through all these steps, and they have to be ready within 6 days time, 14 days time, so that it is being distributed to their affiliate, it is distributed to their stakeholders like business partner, and then onwards there are a lot of companies who directly report it to the regulators. And this will not be possible that if you start processing all the 1,000 cases on the same day, until and unless you really separate out what are the important and significant cases which should be taken or which should be processed on a priority basis. So I hope this simple example actually explains you that how this particular artificial intelligence helps during the case processing. There are a lot of other examples on case processing using artificial intelligence. Naturally, this 20 minutes does not give me or permit me to give you some more examples. So let us see the next very important example of literature search. As I was telling you, that this is my next slide. As I was telling you, all the regulators, whether it is MHRA or whether it is USFDA or whether it is BFARM, all of them want all the marketing authorization holder, that is MAH, to do the international or global database search to see that if there are any safety issues pertaining to their molecules in this international global database. Now, companies have got 100 molecules, 200 molecules, 300 molecules, especially some of the generic companies, and they get plenty of abstracts and they get plenty of articles and from PubMed and Medline and Embase. So is it possible for them to process all these hits which they get when they, if you go yourself today and just go to the PubMed and write metformin or you write paracetamol for a particular duration of time. So they are supposed to do weekly searches. So even if you don't do weekly searches, if you see how much, you can see that I have given you one simple search for paracetamol gets you 33,269 hits. Now, if you ask the people to go through all the hits to find out which is the relevant article or abstract, you will go mad. And the type of people you would require will be so immense that marketing authorization holders will not be able to sustain this. So what is being done here, you utilize artificial intelligence. You create such algorithms or you create such search criteria or search strings which define that for my molecule, which is paracetamol or metformin, I'm only looking for this type of articles, this type of hits which are associated with metformin or paracetamol, which are fatal or threatening or serious or hospitalization or adverse drug relation. So you have a very long search string or algorithm which we have written. So once you put this algorithm in place, and then when you go into PubMed or you go into Medline, then this 33 2069 hits reduced to 15 or 16, which you can look into it. And in case if the full text article is not available, then you can get full text article, and then you can analyze whether there is a valid ICSR there, or there is any safety information which can be utilized for signal generation, for paper, then those are identified and it is being stored. Otherwise, you just imagine, will it be possible for any marketing authorization holder to search literature or literature surveillance where you are getting so many hits for simple molecules? So that's how technology and artificial intelligence comes to your rescue in a small segment like literature search. And I'm just talking about this international literature search. Please remember, all the big marketing authorization holder and big companies are expected to do local literature search as well. So in India, if you have 50 journals, local scientific journals, then the DCGI or even the other regulators want a marketing authorization holder to search all the Indian local journals to see that if there is any ADR or safety issue being published in the local journals. So you can imagine the local journal can be in Chinese, it can be in Japanese, it can be in Spanish, it can be in French, it can be in Hindi, Arabic. So it becomes very, very difficult. So until you have artificial intelligence, which finds out and which also translate this non-English article into English article or English translation, this is just not possible. My next slide, please. So this is probably my last slide, which is of signal detection. So as you know, signal detection is any new information on efficacy or any new information on safety which was not documented, which was not known. This needs to be found out. Now you can imagine if there are millions of cases in a safety database, how you are going to find out that there is a new alarm, a new warning, there is a new association of a safety information with your drug. And this is being done using qualitative and quantitative analysis. This is also done using designated medical event, and of course, what is known as disproportionality analysis. So this disproportionality analysis is being done using artificial intelligence, and it comes out, you can have PRR, so this is proportional reporting ratio or disproportionality as a signal, and then signal is qualitatively validated to see whether it can be refuted or it is validated and it is proven. So once it is proven, then it goes to the next stage, and the next stage is making changes in the SMPCs and labeling. And also in case if the signal is very severe, serious, and it is life-threatening, or it has public hazard, then all the MAH are required to have risk management plan and additional risk management measures. What we know about a lot of articles, a lot of molecules which are there. So here again, the artificial intelligence and the safety, sorry, the pharmacovigilance, the technology comes to your help. So that's about all. I think this was my last slide. I will be more than happy to take your questions, and you can reach out to me at moin@pvcon.in. I'm on the LinkedIn. You can connect with me. And in case if you have any question, you can always ask me. I'm very busy. I'm traveling lots of the time, doing my audits and inspections and webinars. But if I get a question, I make it a point to answer my juniors and my professional colleagues. Thank you so much, Rishali, for giving me this time. I hope I have not exceeded the time which was given to
Not at all. So I have a few questions that have come to me. I have put them in the Q&A tab. I
me.
think
Yeah.
I can ask you these questions, and you can
Yes. Yes.
share your answers with uh, the audience here. The first question, which is this question I have discussed with almost all the speakers with whom I have done LinkedIn lives recently. This is about growing influence of social media and patient forums and electronic health records.
Yeah.
How artificial intelligence can improve efficiency of adverse event detection and reporting given increasing volume of the real world data.
Right. So social media has again become a very important source. So, the image are required to even search out Facebook, Twitter accounts, and other social medias to see, especially in case if you have a sponsored Facebook for your product. And if anybody is coming there and writing something absurd, or they are experiencing their adverse drug event, then you have to have a mechanism in place that the adverse event which has been posted either on Instagram or on your Facebook of your company, or on even on your web page, then this automatically has to be included in your safety database. And then your artificial intelligence comes into the action, and they try to analyze that what has been written on the Facebook or website, whether it is a valid ICSR or it is non-valid ICSR. And especially on accounts like Twitters and all that, there are a lot of noise rather than ICSR. So artificial intelligence, when you have clever algorithms, then they also try to distinguish that what is noise and what is the actual data which is there within the Twitter statement,
Exactly.
right?
I think that segregation must be taking a lot more intelligence than actually finding out where the data is lying.
Exactly, exactly.
Thank you so much. The next question I have is about again false positives in signal detection.
Yeah.
What are the best AI driven strategies to reduce false positives in signal detection while ensuring regulatory compliance and patient safety?
Yeah, so you see, it's a very long process. I mean, there are people who are, I mean, I know from my days in Sanofi, we used to have a global scientist who was responsible for all our mega molecules. So his responsibility was only to find out signals or any new emerging safety information for that particular mega molecule of our. So it is a whole process. It is not something that you can have a shortcut and then you can refute or you can validate. So first, through the disproportionality analysis or PRR, you find out that there are some signals, and then your journey begins that you need to take care of for that particular class of molecules, or what are the other information available in literature throughout the world, and then what are the different cases which have been reported to you. And using this, then you validate your signal. Either you refute it or you validate, and you said that you confirm the signal. So once this is confirmed, I mean, there cannot be any shortcut that you just displace it or you can ignore any signal which you have received. Because when I go for audit, I see to it there how their entire signal management process, their SOP works, and how do they confirm their signals. And from the confirmation of signal, their safety labeling team, how it takes it forward, so that there are certain signals which are confirmed, have to be put into label within 30 days time or 60 days time or in 120 days time, depending on the regulators and depending on their own processes and procedures. So there cannot be any shortcut. It's a
shortcuts.
very long period of time and lot of actual scientific, you know, inquiries,
Evidence. Yeah.
and that's why you need a lot of medical doctors who are not only qualified medical doctors but who have actually practiced that particular therapy area. So if
Hmm.
I have a molecule which is in diabetes, so I will have my global safety manager for my anti-diabetic product, which is not only be a DM in endocrinology, but he must have practiced endocrinology for 5 years. So he knows the disease,
Yeah.
he knows the patients, he knows the molecules, he knows the, what is the
Actual
prevalence,
effect and
yeah, what is
efficacy
the
of the
prevalence
molecule.
of the disease.
Yeah.
So you have to cover all these factors to decide whether the signal is false positive or false negative.
So there's not, AI cannot be just a magic wand tool.
No, no. AI has its own limitations naturally because this AI is coming into picture because of human intelligence. So as you learn more and more and you train AI more and more through machine learning, then only it will be more useful. But then still, it is not a magic wand that it will solve all your questions.
Exactly. We did speak about literature monitoring.
Yes.
How can AI be leveraged to streamline literature monitoring for drug safety, especially with growing number of publications and regulatory requirements in different regions?
Yes. So you see, I said now because I have been doing so. I know a lot of. In fact, there are people who have come out with very intelligent AI-driven literature surveillance tools, and they are so good that they directly plug into PubMed and Medline, and by creating and authoring a very good or very correct algorithm, they are able to identify your molecules and all the adverse drug events, which will be either in form of LLT or PT. They are distinguished and this is being brought forward. So you can imagine, which was not possible for me to do it in a day's time. Now I can screen hundreds of molecules using this type of artificial intelligence driven surveillance tools which are today available in the market. And there are a lot of people in the market. I also know somebody else, and they are doing extremely good job. In fact, one of the companies whom we sold, they said, Moin sir, this was one of the best tool what we have purchased,
Oh,
and it is working so well that we actually validated. We took some of our molecules, we did the normally the human process, and then we actually did it through the this artificial intelligence tool, and we found out nothing is missed out by this artificial intelligence tool what was found out by our entire literature monitoring tool,
oh,
monitoring
okay.
team. Yeah.
And I think something like this becomes much more important for a country like India with
Yes.
varied languages and everything.
Yes.
And even in the region, the GCC region, with multiple regulatory authorities, with
Yes.
multiple regions, I think such tools become of utmost importance for pharma
Yeah,
companies.
it will be very difficult because I know in Middle East there are so many medical journals
Exactly.
available, right?
Exactly.
And everybody is struggling. Especially, I will tell you, all these people who are here, people are struggling with local literature search because currently there's nobody available who can actually have access to all the local literature journal. You can imagine in Mexico there are so many, in Chile there are so many, in France, in Germany there are so many, in India itself I know at least 50 local journals, and fortunately in India they are all in English. But you imagine in the Middle East there are Arabic journals, in Chile and Guatemala, there are Spanish journals. So it becomes very difficult that to find out, to search for your molecules and then translate it into
Translate.
good English and then provide it to your regulators. So this is a very Herculean task, but I'm sure that as artificial intelligence gets developed and machine learning gets more and more developed, one day this will be possible.
I have one last question. How can AI assist in automating case processing and narrative generation while maintaining data accuracy and regulatory
So
acceptance?
this is a
Yeah.
very old thing now, because actually artificial intelligence started with narrative writing. So they had templates, and templates had bookmark, and the artificial intelligence was taught that from the all the data which is available in various field, the data has to be picked up and put into this template of the narrative writing. So this was one of the oldest thing which started with in artificial intelligence during the case processing. But now it is going beyond that. Now we are also doing the causality analysis. So like seriousness is a very simple, straightforward case that you just give them the criteria of ICH, that if these cases are there, this becomes a serious case. Okay. Or some companies have cases or events of special interest for their own molecules. So you can say that if these events are there, you please triage it and bring it forth. Okay. But now causality analysis, whether you go by WHO or you go by Naranjos, you have a very well defined, scoring pattern, and you artificial intelligence, you create algorithm for this. So at least, out of 1,000, they might have 900 good causality assessment, and which have been negative, then that can be analyzed separately through a manual process. So at least 900 has been taken care of. That's how it can be utilized.
I just asked, I want to ask you one last question from my side. Do you think AI is the future, or is it
Yes.
already the present of
No, no,
pharma?
AI is present, already there. You cannot deny, you cannot shut your eyes. Now we have driverless cars. I mean, this never thought of. So AI is definitely present, and it is going to be more and more in future as we go forward. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Don, for a wonderful presentation, and thank you for answering all the questions that have come to us from the audience. And we will definitely keep in touch. If there are any questions by the audience, please reach out to us and we can share the questions with Professor Moin and he can come back to you with his answers. As he mentioned, he is traveling most of the times, but he makes sure that he answers all the questions for us.
Yes, but I would just share with you, my last night I was really feeling not well. I had upset stomach, and I was wondering whether I will be able to take this half an hour session. I had tremors, and I had high fever.
Oh,
So, but fortunately today morning after taking some drugs, I was feeling better. Since I had promised and committed to you, I said no, I should not duck. So I am here, but I would like to take your leave. My very, very apologies to Samer and Humaira. Both of them are very good colleagues of mine. I would have loved to hear them out, but currently I'm not really feeling well, and that's why I would definitely like to take leave. Please pass on my regards to and
definitely.
salams to both of them, Humaira and Thamer,
Definitely.
and I'm always in touch with them. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much. Thank you
Thank
so much, Professor Moin, and we will definitely keep in touch.
you. Okay. Take care.
Thank
Bye
you
bye.
so much. Well, all right. With this, let us move on to our next session. And here we are talking about integrating clinical affairs and pharmacovigilance. This integration ensures safety, signal detection, regulatory compliance, efficient data sharing, and obviously the proactive risk management. And to address this session, we have Professor Mirza Baig, who is the Associate Dean of Clinical Affairs at Dubai Pharmacy College of Girls. He has an extensive background in clinical pharmacy with a PhD from USM and several years of experience in research and academia. His research work primarily focused on pharmacoepidemiology, public health, pharmacoeconomics, and drug related problems. Professor Baig is widely published in his field, and his contributions span across topics including drug utilization studies and systematic reviews. With this, let's welcome Professor Mirza Baig.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Professor.
Thank you, Ms. Roshali, for giving a brief introduction. And at the onset, I would like to thank the whole team of this Eminence Group venture for giving this opportunity for a virtual talk before this Drug Safety Symposium, which is happening next week. So, as you mentioned, that today I will be talking about the theoretical way of integration of clinical affairs and pharmacovigilance in risk management. I like to share my slide over here. One second, yes. I hope everyone they can see the slide over here, right?
Yes. You can just make it a full screen, like a
Yeah,
presentation mode.
I
Yeah.
did it. I did. Hope it's a full screen, right?
Not yet.
Okay. I did already from my side.
Okay, we can start.
Is it done?
Yeah.
I think there is some delay there because I stopped it and share again.
You can just stop sharing and reshare your screen. If
Yeah, I did. I did it.
okay.
Is it full screen or still it's just
No,
one
it's
slide?
still not full screen.
I think there is a delay of that.
We can start. I think it will.
Right. Okay, fine. Okay, hello everyone. As I mentioned that today I will be talking about the integration of clinical affairs and pharmacovigilance in risk management. So when you talk about the responsibilities of pharma companies, the most important responsibilities of pharma companies is about the safety of their products, medicinal products, and ensuring the protection of human subjects. And if you see the history, for that we have some regulatory agency at an international level, and every region they have their own respective regulatory authorities. So they have their own rules and regulations to monitor the safety and efficacy of the pharmaceutical product. But when you see the history, what we are seeing today, that the rules and regulation by FDA. So now it is, we know all the steps. We know about the clinical trials. We know about the preclinical trials. But when you see the history, slowly they have amended the rules or the acts which have by the FDA. Initially, there was maybe long back, about 100 years back, there was no need of any approval of any pharmaceutical product. There is no need of any preclinical trials or clinical trials. But we have seen some erroneous mistakes or failures or disasters, or we can say uh, 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 the tragedies happen with pharmaceutical product. And with each disaster, with each event, there was some amendment to the Food and Drug Cosmetic Act, FDA. So, like I can give the example about the human experimentation in World War II in Germany, syphilis study, and then some various disasters, sulfonamide disaster, thalidomide disaster, and we have seen many medications which were approved by FDA, and later on, because of the serious effects, it have been withdrawn from the market. Okay. So today I will be talking about those information which helps a lot in performing the pharmacovigilance activities. But before that, I would like to have one poll here. Uh, I'd like to see the basic knowledge what the audience they have. The first thing is about which of the following drug caused renal failure death disaster in 1937. You have the four options. I hope you can see the poll over here, and the
Yes, yes.
audience they can do the polling. Is it published on the poll?
Yes, it is published.
Okay, because I am on full screen, I cannot able to see the polling. Just you can read out what are the response from the audience.
We'll just give a minute
Yeah, sure,
for everyone to vote.
sure. We can see that all the four drugs which have been mentioned over here, they had some side effects, and there were some disasters, there were some tragedies related to each and every drug. But we need to find out which drug caused renal failure death disaster in 1937. After that, there was some amendments in Food and Drug Cosmetic Act.
Abhay, can we see the answers to the poll? Oh, okay. All the four have 25% vote.
Okay, all the four. Okay, interesting. So this shows that we need to have the updates. So we are
Yes.
not, even though we are in the pharmacovigilance area, but still we are not having a complete knowledge. That's the reason we are attending these online webinars, or we are attending some symposiums so that we can update ourselves. Never mind. There is always, we do, as a human, we do mistakes, and we are not supercomputers to remember each and everything. The right answer here is sulfanilamide disaster. So whenever we are in a pharmacovigilance sectors, so we are taught about the famous disasters, starting with sulfanilamide disaster and thalidomide disaster. These were the two major disasters. But for this question, the right answer is sulfanilamide. It was the elixir, they considered as a magic elixir. And here, actually, the drug was safe, but the pharmacist was not getting any appropriate solvent to dissolve this drug, so he has used the diethylene glycol. And at the time, he was not having a appropriate knowledge about the solvents. And the drug was safe, as I mentioned, the drug was safe, but the solvent they have used was not excreted to the kidneys, and this led to the kidney failure, and there were many deaths related to this drug. Actually, the drug was safe, and it was very famous in those days. And later on, you have seen the amendments. So the right answer is sulfanilamide. And thalidomide disaster was in 1960s, where the drug was given for the pregnant women, and they had phocomelia, that they informed they born with shorter limbs. There was another major disaster. Now it is under category X, is contraindicated in pregnant women. At that time, it was not known. And again, after 1960s, there were several research committees and research databases have been formed after those disasters. And when we talk about proglitazone, it is the first thiazolidinedione used for diabetes, and it caused liver impairment. And later on, it was launched in 1997. Because of this liver impairment, hepatic failure, they have withdrawn the drug from the market. After 10 years in 2007, rosiglitazone it was approved and it was marketed. Later on, they have found out cardiac-related death related to rosiglitazone, and again it was withdrawn. And now you can see pioglitazone is there, but still there are many precautions has to be taken when these thiazolidines are given for diabetic patients. So anyway, so it's just an update. Just we have to remember about the thalidomide disaster and sulfanilamide disaster. These are the major breakthrough in the history of drug approvals. Anyway, the next is about just the basic knowledge, or how everyone they will get the right answer for this. Which of the following cannot determine the favorability of the drug? Ms. Rushali, can you post it on poll?
Can we post the next one?
Yes, the next one. Yes, please.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, I think there is some delay when I'm changing the slide. It's not immediately reflected on the screen.
I think there's delay from the poll, and as well, we're just waiting for the poll to come up.
Okay.
Mm. Should we circle back to the poll, Professor Mirza?
Yeah, it's not published.
It's not published. It's not published.
Okay.
We are,
Just I would like to know the audience response. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, it's published.
Okay. And also, may I request just you can share the slides from this side,
Okay.
because it is delaying from my side. It's not appearing immediately.
Oh, okay.
So no response until now.
No response to this. Okay, now it's a poll. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, we have a short time. Without further wasting, I'd like to say the right answer here is the risk associated. Okay. So here, when you talk about the effectiveness, the cost effectiveness, safety and efficacy, and when you talk about the clinical benefits, so all these are favoring the drugs, but only the risk associated, it is not favoring. Surprised to see that some of them, they have clicked on cost effectiveness. It's not favoring. Safety and efficacy is not favoring. Actually, these are the main criteria we need to see for the favorability of the drug. Because when you see about the medication, the first thing is we need to maximize the effectiveness. We are seeing about minimizing the side effects and minimizing the cost effectiveness of the medication. These are the main important parameters for a drug to be effective in the market. Okay. The risk associated, it doesn't favors the drug. Okay, so these things we need to consider over here. Can I request Ms. Roshali, can you share the slides?
Yes, I am. I am sharing the slides.
Yeah. So let's start with the introduction to the risk management system. As you all know that these are the set of pharmacovigilance activities and interventions which are designed to identify, characterize, and minimize the risk related to the medicinal products. And it also includes the assessment of the effectiveness of those interventions. Because when you have identified, when you have characterized that, you're trying to minimize those risks which was identified related to those medicinal products. And then in a risk minimization plan, we have certain steps to minimize those risks, mitigate those risks. And when you are implementing those plans, we'll try to assess the effectiveness of those interventions. It looks very simple, like identifying, minimizing, and assessing the effectiveness. But when you're involved in these activities, you need to have a lot of effort. You need to have a lot of literature review to identify the risks associated with the medications. Next slide, please. And the aim of risk management system is to ensure the benefit of those particular medicines. And we try to see that the risk is not exceeding, and we try to see that we are achieving a greater margin of effectiveness of the medication and minimizing the risk associated to the medication, whether it is for the individual patient or for the targeted population for the whole. This is the main aim for the risk management system, try to mitigate the risk, try to minimize the risk to majorital margin. Next slide, please. And depending on the authorization procedure in different countries, in general, any risk management plan, it consists of 7 different documents with safety specifications organized in different modules. Next, click there, please. So here you can see the different parts. Here, the most important part is about the safety specification and what are your pharmacovigilance activities and your periodic safety update reports and your risk minimization measures. So these are the important parts, important documents you need to submit to the regulatory authorities. Generally, it is about 7 parts, but the first part is about the product overview. And the important start from the part 2 about the safety specification, where we are including the complete clinical affair data that is about preclinical, clinical studies, post-authorization studies, even after the product is approved, when it is used in the real life population. So we need to see about the early post-authorization experience with those medications. Next slide, please. So in general, we can say, next click. In general, we can say that the stages of risk management, the important thing is about the characterization of the safety profile. The second one, next click, please. And the second one is about the planning pharmacovigilance activities. Third one, next click, please, is about implementation of risk minimization mitigations. So these are the 3 important components of risk management. Next slide. In broader, we can say that when you talk about the first, next click, please. When you talk about the safety specifications, we are trying to identify what are the risks associated with the medications, which includes identifying risk, we can say as actual risk and potential risk. Actual risk, already it will be evident in the patients, and the potential risk is about which is going to happen. So we try to identify those safety specification, and we try to see that if there are any missing information related to the safety profile of the medication. And next, we start with the pharmacovigilance activity. The routine thing is collecting information on ADRs. And additionally, what we can do is collect information on early post-marketing phase and post-marketing surveillance and post-marketing clinical studies. That is phase 4 clinical studies. We are trying to collect all those activities and try to see that if there are any risks associated with the medications. Once you have identified those risks, then you go with the risk minimization activities, where you develop some strategies to minimize the risk by having appropriate packages, electronic packages, drug guide for the patients. And apart from that, additional thing what we can do is provide the information related to the early post-marketing phase vigilance and taking some safety measures for proper utilization, and then setting up about the terms of use of those medicinal products. So these are the activities we need to do with the risk for the risk minimization plan. Next slide, please. So this integration of clinical affairs and pharmacovigilance, actually it is very important to enhance the risk management, and which is the crucial in today's healthcare landscape. Because nowadays you have many products, unlimited products in the market. Even just for one disease, you can see a choice of 20 to 50 medications, and with different companies coming up with different molecules. So here we need to know about all those information about the utilization of the drug in general population. So this integration of clinical affairs and pharmacovigilance, it will create more robust framework for managing risks associated with the medicinal products. Next slide, please. So the key benefit of this integration is we have the improved data quality. We can have the faster response time to safety signals, to release the signals related to the any risk associated with the medication, and we can take a more proactive approach to minimize these risks and manage the risk appropriately. So this synergy ultimately it enhances the regulatory compliance and boosts the stakeholder confidence in product safety. Because these good pharmacovigilance, it identifies the risk in shortest possible time after the medicine has been marketed, and will help to establish and identify the risk factors. So when we are integrating this, we need to have a good communication skills, and when there is effective communication, this allows the intelligent evidence-based prescribing with potential preventing the potential for preventing the adverse drug reactions. Next slide, please. So we need to understand what are those clinical affairs, and as I mentioned in risk minimization plan, actually it is a part of the documentation for regulatory affairs and pharmacovigilance officer to gather all the data related to the medicine product for that particular company. So it involves management of clinical trials and studies to ensure the product safety and efficacy. And it plays a vital role in gathering the data that informs and supports the post-marketing surveillance. This shows that this clinical evaluation is a continuous and systemic process for collecting, interpreting, and analyzing the clinical data to establish or to confirm the efficacy, safety of the medicinal product. And this process, it includes not only the clinical trials, but also the analysis of epidemiological data, laboratory results, and other relevant data sources, which helps to have the clear understanding of risk associated with the medications, which helps in managing the risk management effectively. Next slide, please. So here I would like to have one more poll, like about the which of the following clinical trials should be completed before applying NDA? Can we have the poll for this, please?
Yes.
I hope everyone they can answer. This is quite easy. So generally for the approval, we need to have preclinical studies. We need to conduct phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 clinical studies to get the approval. And there are different applications. We have investigational new drug application. We have new drug applications. So for this here, I would like to know from you all that what studies is required before applying NDA. Any response? Anyway,
Can we look at the results up?
so again, still there is confusion.
There are maximum votes for
But
the
yeah, good thing is that maximum they agree with the preclinical and clinical phase. That it is about phase 1, 2, 3. So that is the right answer. That we need to have all those studies, preclinical, clinical, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. These three and preclinical. This data is important when you are applying NDA. As I mentioned, that there is one more application, that is IND, that is the initial application for the investigational new drug. For that, we need only preclinical and phase 1 clinical trials. Okay, so that is about for the investigational. And once you are doing the investigation with phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, then you go with the new drug application to get the approval. So it takes about overall 10 to 15 years to get the approval of one molecule. Next click, please. So here we need to develop certain strategies for successful integration. And for that, every pharmaceutical organization, they need to establish cross-functional teams, implement shared databases, and promote a culture of collaboration. As we have seen a very good start with Dr. Moin Don, where he has explained that not everyone will be having all the databases. So that is the main disadvantage of managing the risk associated with the medication. There are many literature which is unforeseen, which is not available for every pharmacovigilance officer. So here the role of pharmaceutical industries is they need to establish the cross-functional teams in every department, starting with the drug development till the marketing. They should have the good collaboration and they share the databases related to their products. And this promote a culture of collaboration. And there is a need of training and continuous education to ensure that all team members are aligned with the integration goals. So we have seen that starting with the drug development and till marketing, not everyone is having the scientific knowledge. So that's the reason we need to see that when they are dealing with the medications, every team member, they should have a sound scientific knowledge and they should know how to search the information, how to gather this information and utilize it to convince the regulatory authorities for the safety of the medication. Next slide, please. So here for the safety specification, you need to gather the information about what is known and what is not known about the drug. And there are possibilities like some pharmacovigilance officer, when they're working in some pharmaceutical companies, that they don't highlight what is not known about the medication. Just they will see the positive part of the medication and they try to hide, or they are not known about the information, the missing information related to the medication. But actually, we need to include each and everything, what is known and what is not known about the drug, all the identified risks, potential risks, and the missing information. Next slide, please. Next. So we need to address the population potentially, that who is using that drug, which population are at potential risk. So we need to know about both the label use and unlabeled use, because when the product is launched, sometimes they use it for the unlabeled use, because the doctors, when they experience that the patient is getting better with so and so symptoms, they try to give those medications for the unlabeled use. As we have seen for many diabetic medications, actually they will be launched to reduce the blood glucose levels, but once the patient started using that medication, they have seen the other effect of the medication, like for example reduction in the weight, and then they started promoting that medication to reduce the weight. And now we have seen that in UAE itself, many non-diabetic patients, they are taking diabetic medications not to lower the blood pressure, the blood glucose levels, but they are taking to reduce the weight. So we need to know about all those labeled and unlabeled used. So we need to get all those data, published data, unpublished data, and we need to address the outstanding safety questions which are which need the further investigation to refine the understanding of the risk-benefit profile of the medication. And we need to form a basis for the pharmacovigilance plan and risk minimization plan based on those information what we have, what is known and what is not known about the medication, and for what purpose they are using, including the approved and non-approved indications. Next slide, please. And when we talk about the clinical trials, we have a lot of limitations for that. Generally, it is not powered for the safety profile, but it is powered for the efficacy. Once they see that even it has a little benefit over the risk, so I mean, they will be approving it. But what we have to see is that the side effects should be minimized to the maximum extent. But during the approval, just they see that if there is any potential benefit with the drug, they give the approval. So we are not assessing completely for the safety of the medication and not about the targeted population. In phase 1, 2, 3, like in phase 1, volunteers are there with undiseased volunteers. And then phase 2, phase 3, there might be volunteers who are not recovered with the current medications. So here we are not targeting the exact population who are in need with that particular drug. So we are just like a gunia. They are using the data of gunia pigs, like the humans who are not like having a positive outcome with the medications, current medications. So again, we can see that during clinical trials, we are not getting the appropriate information. So we are collecting the post-marketing authorizations report. And other limitation with the clinical trials, it is having short duration, and it is the population is different when compared to the target population, and it is different when compared to the real patients, real life patients. And there is a gap between the trial protocols and clinical practice. In actual practice, the selection of the medication for the labeled use or off-label use, it is different. And we need to see the impact of comorbidities. That maybe during the clinical trials, the patients, they don't have the comorbidities, but when it is used in real life patients, you can see the different comorbid conditions. So we need to collect all those information, the clinical trials and post-marketing clinical trials, and also the observational studies like cohort study, case control study, case series, case report. Even these information are important in the clinical affairs. Next slide, please. So we need to understand the target indication and target population by gathering those information. Next, please. I'd like to have one more MCQ, the last two MCQs. I would like to know about your understanding about the morbidity rates. It measures the following except.
Abhay, can we have the next poll, please?
It's just to refresh ourselves that what we have learned during our college days or during symposiums. Because whenever you see about the information about the drug, we try to see about the mortality and morbidity of particular thing. Before that, there is one more MCQ. This is the last one.
Can we see the answers? Duration of the disease.
Okay. Again, there are some misconceptions. Let me clear here. Morbidity is about the frequency or number of patients who are suffering from that particular disease. So here we can find out the frequency, we can find out the duration, we can find out the severity of the disease. So the question was, what morbidity measures except? So it doesn't measure the cause of the disease. So we doesn't know that with the morbidity rate, we cannot find what is the cause, but we can find out the severity based on the number of patients suffering from the disease we can find out the duration, we can find out the frequency of the persons suffering from that particular disease. So definitely it will measure the frequency, duration, and severity, but it will not measure cause of the disease. The question was except. So except, the right answer is cause of the disease. It is not measured with the morbidity rate.
Except,
Next question, please.
I think there was a confusion between.
Yes, right. Yes.
Yeah.
The next question, please.
Can we have the last poll?
This one should be easier. So what are the results for this?
It's 50%
So again,
for
still
phase 1 and phase 2.
okay. Anyway, let me clear this. 100 to 300 patients are used in phase 2.
Yeah.
In phase 1, they are healthy volunteers. Maybe depends upon the availability of the volunteers. It starts with minimum 10 and maximum they can go for 90. So that is the phase 1. And then if it is more than 100, 100 to 300, it is phase 2. Maximum they can go for 500. And in phase 3, it is more than 500, that is 1000 to 2000 or maximum 3000. In phase 4, it is like in real population. Okay, so post authorization studies. Anyway, it's better to see that there is some confusion among the attendees. So as I said that the importance of these online webinars or symposiums, it helps us to regain the knowledge what we have learned during the college days or in different databases. Okay, please. Next slide, please. Can we have the slides back, please?
Yeah.
Okay, so to gather the data, we need to, as I mentioned, that we need to see about the epidemiological studies which have the more safety specification, because we know about what actual use of the medication. So with these epidemiological studies, we can find out the target population, and we can find out in which target population it is having more risk. And we need to conduct the systemic reviews of the literature, and if it is not adequate, we need to find out the case studies or case series. So all these are some of the important information we need to get together the safety specification. Next slide. And we need to do the drug utilization, actual utilization of the drug, that as I mentioned, label use, off-label use, and even the misuse that some they are using for inappropriate, like we have seen in some countries, they are using the painkillers just to get the pleasure. Actually, they don't have any pain, but they are using to get pleasure, and they are involved in fights, and they feel that they doesn't get the pain. So there is a misuse of the medications. Again, it is a safety concern that when you are using these medication, you are misusing it. We need to get those data that where these drugs are misused, and then we need to know about the drug interactions, and we need to know about the effect of the medication in comorbid conditions, and we need to see about the effectiveness. Like in clinical trials, we are seeing about the efficacy. There is a difference, almost two terminologies. They are used as synonyms: efficacy and effectiveness. Efficacy is the potential of the drug. The drug have the potency to reduce the symptoms, but when it is used in actual patients, the effectiveness might be reduced because of the presence of comorbid conditions, because of the immune system of different patients. The effectiveness might be reduced. Actually, the drug has a potency, it has the efficacy, but when it is used in real life situation, it might be, the effectiveness might be reduced. The same thing happened with COVID vaccine. not all were having the effectiveness of same effectiveness of the COVID vaccines. It differs from one person to other person. So when you are having these actual drug utilization studies, this information helps a lot to gather the safety specification of the medication. Next slide, please. So we know about the different data, but still we have some limitations, we have some challenges. The first thing, as I mentioned, that not everyone will be having the complete information about the clinical trials data, or some generic companies, they don't have the information about the clinical trials. Actually, they're not conducting any clinical trials, but there is a way to find out with the similar molecule. Okay, and that's the reason, as I said, that they have the challenges about these data silos or databases that differs in priority, and they are varying regulatory requirement with the different regions. So addressing these issues, it requires a strong leadership, clear communication, and unified vision for the risk management, which helps a lot to overcome these challenges in the integration. Next step, please. Next slide. So the future trend, as you have seen that we have different talks mostly on the future trends and use of AI. So the future of risk management, it lies in the adoption of the new technology and data analytics. So here the important things, what we say that actually the machines, they are taking the jobs of the humans. It's not right, but we have to know that before these machines dominate the humans, humans have to dominate the machines by learning about how to operate these machineries, or how to utilize these artificial intelligence. So these innovations such as AI and machine learning, it play a significant role in enhancing the integration of clinical affairs and pharmacovigilance, and hence we can enhance the risk management, and it will be more effective for the risk mitigation. Next slide. So in conclusion, we can say that these integration, it is key in enhancing the risk management, and by leveraging shared knowledge and resources, organization can better protect the patients and ensure the safety of the medicinal products, which ultimately leads to improved healthcare outcomes. Next last slide. Thank you for your listening, and thanks for the management for giving this opportunity to discuss about this integration. The floor is open for the questions. If there are any questions in the chat box and Q&A sessions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much. There are a few questions. Let me.
Okay.
Can can we start with this question? With we spoke about integration of uh, clinical affairs, clinical trial data, and
Right.
pharmacovigilance. So the first question I have is, with growing regulatory expectations, how can companies create the seamless flow of data between clinical affairs and pharmacovigilance to ensure signal detection without increasing the operational burden?
Okay. For here, we need to have different strategies. The first thing is about the implementation of integrated data management system, where we can have the unified platform which allows the real-time data exchange between the clinical affairs and pharmacovigilance department. And we need to adapt the cloud-based systems, a centralized database where everyone, they can have the access. Not everyone means the people who are responsible for these activities like pharmacovigilance activities and clinical affairs. At least they need to have the access for this cloud-based system, so that they can have the access for the safety data or adverse event reports and clinical study findings. Second step is about the automation of this data capturing and processing. So we need to see that now we have many tools, AI tools and machine learning, where there are many databases. They are immediately capturing the information, new published information, or any incidents happening, immediately it is captured. So these automated data capturing and processing is required, which analyze the structured and unstructured data published or unpublished data, and they can implement these natural language processing, that is what we call as NLP, that to extract the insights from the clinical trial reports and medical literature. And third thing is about the leveraging the advanced analytics and machine learning, and standardize the data collection reporting system, so that the AI later on they can compile all the information. So this is what is required for the pharma companies to create a seamless data flow between the clinical affairs and pharmacovigilance.
Uh, the next question that we have is, how can a generic company determine the safety specification if it's waived from clinical study?
Yeah, this was the concern I have given during my presentation, that not everyone will be having the information related to the safety, and especially with the generic company, they are waived from the clinical study. They don't have to conduct any clinical study, but still they will be providing. They're conducting the bioequivalence study to see that whether the drug is having the equal effectiveness of the uh, patented molecule. So that data is important, and again, we can collect the data literature to the molecule, not to your product. Your product, it might be have different companies, they might have this information. So we have to see about the not the uh, what we say, the branded name of the, or the company name of the drug. So we need to see about the generic molecule. In general, this molecule, what is the safety profile of this molecule?
Molecule.
You have the clinical study information from the patented drug company. So they have already conducted the clinical trials. We can find out, we can have to collect those information. This is what is the gap between the information. So we are not gathering the information about the generic of that molecule, the generic company. They are not seeing about those molecules. We have to see that the molecule is same. Okay, so we have to get the clinical data about from the patented company, whatever the different problems they have experienced during the clinical trials, which helps for the further data development.
There is one more question which talks
Yes,
about,
yes.
as patient centricity becomes a priority, how can how can the integration of clinical affairs and PV enhance proactive risk management and improve communication with regulators, healthcare professionals, and patients? I think with the MENA region being at the forefront of, regulators, affiliates, everyone working together, how can such data integration of data help the communication with the regulators and healthcare professionals as well?
Definitely, we are talking about the safety profile. Once you have this integration, and we have seen about the different strategies, I have talked about the different strategies to implement these integration. So once you have these data, definitely we are seeing about the complete information. We are not missing any other information. So when you have the integration, you have the complete data, and this helps a lot in minimizing the risk, in mitigating the risk associated with the medication. And that is what a requirement of regulatory authorities. They need this information, try to produce this information. We are not here to hide the information. So we need to gather all those information, missing information, and definitely the regulatory authority also, it will utilize that, and it helps them to have the genuine evaluation for their product.
Is
Although the rules and regulations are different, but when it comes to the safety profile, it is almost the same.
and my last question would be, we are talking a lot about artificial intelligence and automation in the webinar, as well as during the 2 days of symposium as well.
Right.
Does artificial intelligence or automation help in this integration of the data?
Yes, definitely it helps. That, as I
And are
mentioned,
we
that we need
are
to.
we actually using it in the strategy today?
It depends upon the affordability of the pharma companies. There, not all the pharma companies they can have these integration. Like implementing an integrated data management system, it requires some subscription that not all can have that. And in India, we have seen that the government is planning to have a common data for the databases, journals databases. Uh, as of now, every university they are purchasing, they are having the subscription differently. But once this government take this effort to have a common database, so that everyone they can utilize that, So we can save the time. So here there is a need that all the pharma companies, they need to come, they have to come together to implement this integrated data management system. It will help not only for that company, but for other companies, and they can get the complete information. And when you're using this AI, so we have the data capturing and processing, automated data capturing. So that is also very much important by implementing the natural language processing. So now you can see, I can give the example of ourselves. So now we are using different social platforms. With the help of this AI, it will, it is gathering all the information, where you went, which restaurant you have went. So we have seen many memes about that, how the data is exposed. So you, by with the help of AI, with the help of NLP, that we can find out the automated data capturing. Just when you type someone's name, it gives the complete information: who he is, where he's staying, which restaurants he went, which place he went, which places he visited. So all these are, of course, we have some advantages and disadvantages. Data security will be the main concern when related to the healthcare information. There is a concern, but still it has more advantages when compared to the misuse of those information. So definitely AI and automated data capturing, it helps a lot in finding out the unknown information of the medications, the missing information, what we say that. So many pharma companies, they are, there is a scarcity of the data. They're not having the complete information. And for that reason, when they're applying to any regulatory authorities, sometimes their drug is not approved because of the missing information. But once you have, when you use these AI and machine learning, you will at least, you'll have the complete information. You'll know about the missing information about the drugs. So definitely it will help the regulatory authorities and pharma companies.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Professor Mirza. When we were doing our research, it was discussed that we talk a lot about pharmacovigilance, post marketing,
Right,
but pharmacovigilance actually starts with clinical trials and clinical studies. So
right,
this integration is very important, and for all the PV professionals who are actually working with pharma companies, understanding this integration and how can this help them in the post marketing phase definitely is important. And thank you so
right.
much for sharing with us the detailed strategies and how it can be done. And uh, again, I would like to let all the delegates who are attending know that if you have any further questions for Professor Mirza, please feel free to share them with us. We will relay
Yeah,
them
sure.
to Professor, and we can get the answers to you
Yeah,
during
definitely.
the 2 days of the event.
Yeah, sure. Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you so
You're
much,
welcome.
Professor. And with this, when we were speaking about AI, we are moving to our next session, which is AI in pharmacovigilance and what future holds for me. The next session definitely speaks about a global perspective on anticipated changes in pharmacovigilance practices and strategies with increasing use of AI and how it is impacting drug safety monitoring, patient centric risk management globally. And to answer all the doubts that we have with us Humaira Qureshi. Just a second. I have to. Yeah. She's a senior executive leader with experience in leading successful pharmacovigilance businesses in health and life sciences sector. A leader with strong management, strategic development, and business development experience, underpin an extensive domain expertise with over 25 years. And with this, let's welcome Humaira Qureshi, PV consultant. She is co-founder for One Life. I am so sorry. One Life Life Sciences, One World Life Sciences. With this, can we please invite Humaira?
Hopefully you can see and hear me.
Oh yes.
Fantastic. Thank you for the introduction. Rashali, and thank you very much for inviting me. Great. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. And I have to say, Professor Baig did a fantastic presentation. I thought it was a wonderful segue, so very nicely timed, Rashali. By way of introduction, for those that don't know me, I'm Humaira Qureshi, as Rashali said, co-founder of One World Life Sciences. And it's your actually conclusion of that presentation was a great segue into my introduction, and I guess why I'm doing the work I'm doing. I think over the last couple of years, as an industry or as a movement within pharmacovigilance, we've been taught and told to break down the silos between medical, regulatory, clinical pharmacovigilance. And we've been doing that well operationally, but now with the technology, with the software, with AI, it's about breaking down the silos between the data sets. As Professor Baig said, really to kind of help us enable decision-making, finding the unknowns, getting to decisions sooner rather than later. So with that, and Rashali, I'm going to share my screen. So hopefully, you'll be able to see this. Fingers crossed. And the magic begins,
Yes.
hopefully.
Yes,
Fantastic.
you can see it.
Wonderful. And I just want to check that I can. Now mine seems to have frozen, so I'm not able to move between slides. I don't know, Afam, whether you can help move the slides. It doesn't seem to be moving for me. But just whilst we resolve, thank you, Afam. Just whilst we resolve that technical, I guess the revolution that we have currently in pharmacovigilance is all about AI, the technology that we can integrate to help us do our job more effectively and more efficiently. You know, never did I ever think 5 years ago that I would take courses on artificial intelligence and machine learning. But when I look back and reflect, actually pharmacovigilance has forced us to evolve with the needs, you know, be it from operational skills as an SME to then really start to understand how does one implement a safety database? How does then one introduce signal detection and leverage a safety database? To now really needing to understand that as pharmacovigilance experts, we have to have a place on the table right from the outset as we start to talk about technology and AI. And I think having that education, having that understanding has really helped me, and I know my colleagues as well. That way, you know, you're not pushed aside and told, look, it's technology. You don't know what you don't know what you're talking about, so on and so forth. You have to, I strongly kind of suggest to my colleagues in the room that, you know, there are courses online that are available. Some are free, some are not. But it's really important for us to understand more about machine learning, the algorithms, or talk to people and use networks like this to continue to learn, because it's becoming so essential in our industry. Before I go into kind of the detail of my presentation, maybe I could just have a show of hands. And my apologies, because my slide deck isn't moving.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Humaira. Can you
Yes,
hear me?
hey, Afam.
Yes, you can just scroll on the PDF, the screen which is being seen. On the corners, you'll be seeing an arrow to move forward and backward. Can you do that?
Yeah, let's have a look. Yes, thank you.
Okay, we can see your screen.
Thank you very much, Afam. So before I go into detail, and again, as I keep seeing online as well, and Rashali keeps saying in this, absolutely right, this is so interactive, which is what sets this apart. Maybe just kind of as a show of thumbs, or somehow if we can understand, you know, folk in the room today, have you implemented, are you part of an implementation, or, you know, been or currently implementing any AI that supports your pharmacovigilance processes today? Are we able to kind of get a show of hands or a poll, whether it's a yes or a no? Oh, fantastic. Lots of bouncing thumbs up there, which is great, okay? Because that makes my life easier as we go through this. And I have to say, I guess I've really been fortunate because I've pivoted from what was a very traditional operational role to very aggressively start to embrace technology. And that's because coming out from a service provider industry, people want more done with less people. They want more work being done quickly with the complexity of data, with the landscape that we're seeing with mergers, acquisitions, structured data, unstructured data. But the demands of our industry is that we have to get this work done sooner rather than later. So what I have shown on the next slide is really, you know, let's gain an understanding of what your experience is in implementing AI to support these operational activities. So again, I've been very fortunate that I've been able to kind of work my way through about implementing technology platforms and artificial intelligence to facilitate and accelerate the way that we actually undertake pharmacovigilance operation processes. How about you guys tell me in a poll what areas you have been involved in? So again, Afan, Rushani, if we were able to get a poll up, it'd be wonderful to see.
Sure.
Thank you. And what I'm planning to do is actually, once we understand the poll and the results of this poll, I want to focus on one or two of these areas to really make it pertinent for the audience that we have today.
Afam, can we have the poll, please? I think it takes a little time in the relay.
No, that's absolutely fine. And by the way, this list, it's becoming longer and longer.
Oh, yes.
As we continue to break the silos, just as I'm waiting for Afam to pull up the poll. One of the discussions I was involved in earlier this week, again, and Professor Baig was talking about it, was predictive analysis in clinical trials. So, Vrishali, you were talking about, you know, we talk about post-marketing, but actually AI is becoming more and more important in the clinical phase, where you're actually undertaking the life cycle management right from the start, even preclinical, and understanding that data flow from preclinical, clinical, medical to pharmacovigilance. So guys, why don't you tell me, using this poll, where the experience is, and then I think if by magic Afam will be able to let me know where we've got the vast majority of interest or experience in, and then we can talk about that in a little while around the implementation and the maintenance and how we now need to evolve the way that we're working in pharmacovigilance.
Okay, so the most of the answers are for translations, case intake, and signal detection.
Rishani, what was the second one? Translations?
Case intake and signal detection.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay.
And I'm really surprised at how people have not spoken about local literature, because I think that plays a very important role in this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so if we can just stay on this screen just before I kind of move back to my slide deck, I guess I'm surprised, considering we're in the Dubai chapter, you know, that case intake, local literature is so low, okay?
Yeah.
Particularly because we're building hubs within the Middle Eastern region as well. And again, so a lot of the work that I have been doing is around how do we now empower and enable hubs to work independently and do a lot of the work that a global headquarters pharmacovigilance team is doing. But let's just again, stay on this vote before I move over to the slides. From a translation perspective, I actually remember from 2008 that working with the European Medicines Agency on XEVMPD, which is a file type for products, many of you will know, often kind of controlled and owned by regulatory. My first exposure to using some form of AI with translations was actually at the European Medicines Agency, where, believe it or not, they use Google Translator to start to understand how do you actually move from one language to another, okay? And that for me was my first eye-opener as to how we are able to regionalize with consistency data that's important for patient safety overall. Now, again, I'm going to make some assumptions here as I start to take this forward, but ultimately, the need to have good translations, high quality translations with an element of human intervention and quality assurance and human oversight becomes more and more essential as the global functions of drug safety look to introduce and harmonize their processes. So what I want to do is just kind of walk you through what key points have been in my experience as we implement these types of AI. And again, I'll probably actually share with you maybe translations for local literature, translations for RMPs as well, and signal detection experience that I had, because I know that Moin was going to be talking about that as well earlier. So one thing I would say, and again, it's good, my counsel to you all is to also make sure you're not scared to ask questions to the global headquarters, to the global pharmacovigilance function, because great AI comes from great ideas, and nobody knows or nobody generates those ideas better than the people that are actually doing the work. That's certainly been experience that I've seen from myself. So pilots, more and more pilots I'm seeing at a local level, I have to say, a local level and a hub level, whereby you are seeing processes which have inefficiencies or have potential to be streamlined. One process can be undertaken the same way in multiple regions or multiple countries. So never stop experimenting. It's low cost, and actually, if you feel it's not going to work, you can kill those pilots quickly. The worst thing you could possibly do is invest in an idea without having that pilot data. The next thing is, and I was reading in a paper from Deloitte only yesterday, I believe, is fear of compromising patient compliance, along with, of course, patient safety, is one of the reasons why there is still some aversion to the AI. And that is why it's really emerged as one of the biggest barriers for the development and deployment of AI at a speed that is possibly possible. And we'll talk about organizational change being a key drive to the speed at which AI is implemented. But regulation and risk has been a key area that has caused folk concern. Again, it brings me back to why it's so important to have human oversight. The timelines is important. So often when you start any project, you'll talk about, and typically these types of projects are a 1 year long poster pilot. But the reality is that the speed of the technology being integrated into the organization is dependent upon the speed of that organization. And every organization works at a different pace to achieve, the return on investment that they're investing. What do they want to get out from the AI that they're putting in? And the organizational culture and the organizational leadership are absolutely crucial in determining what the timelines are for a successful AI project. The reasons I say this is because in my experience, have been 5 key steps in implementing AI that is good with visible results and with the ability to achieve what you intend to, which are inevitably cost savings, increased productivity, the ability to manage complex sets of data, the ability to manage higher volumes of data. First key for me is making sure your senior exec team or the C-suite actually create that Northern Star, the strategy. They continue to communicate within the organization the importance of this work and the importance of the team's involvement in this work. And that's why it's important to build those bridges for that sustained return of investment, making sure there's good communication. And that often is an accelerator or a facilitator for making sure that ROI is met, if not exceeded. Managing the workforce, the employees and your team for disruption is also important. And making sure that the workforce is empowered and enabled with knowledge. And this is why right at the start of my presentation, I talked about the importance of learning and educating yourselves as a pharmacovigilance expert, because this is how our science is evolving. We have to understand the fundamentals of AI, machine learning, and how algorithms work. So that education and empowerment is really, really important. In fact, resistance to adopting AI overall is often because of, unawareness or lack of knowledge, if you will, in how one uses AI and what is the impact of AI. So then there's managing uncertainty, because there will always be an element of uncertainty. No matter how well you plan at the beginning, there'll always be a moment where you have to say, oh, I didn't expect that to happen. And again, I'll talk a little bit about some of these examples in implementing some of the real life case studies that I've been involved in. But managing the uncertainty, and again, I think Professor Baig alluded to this, is it help AI, the more we use it, helps us understand where are the potential blind spots that we're not able to look at, where we're not able to see in the siloed data sets that we are working in. So managing scenarios, planning for different scenarios is really important. The fifth point is actually one of the most important points for me, and this is about how you govern, drive, and facilitate the implementation and subsequent maintenance of any AI project. We talk about program management, we talk about business excellence, but a center of excellence which really involves your QMS, the quality management system, at the center of this program is absolutely essential. Because ultimately, we need the right SMEs to be brought in at the right time for each of these projects. And that enables us to draw on the skill sets. And then that's when the magic is created with AI. When a technologist meets a pharmacovigilance specialist who meets a quality assurance specialist at the right time, and then magic is created as we're able to all realize that there's convergence and we're moving in the right direction. And in fact, the, there we are. The QMS piece I'll talk about towards the end, because a successful center of excellence for a quality management system within PV, in my opinion, is one of the key factors of success as we become audited or inspected post-implementation of the AI. So how is AI changing the landscape of pharmacovigilance? And I think 5 years ago, we talked about technology and AI and what it will be doing for us. And I think those of us that have been in PV for a couple of years will know that the science of pharmacovigilance and how we operate today, the fundamentals are the same, but how we undertake our work is slightly different. we're now able to manage those complex data sets. We're able to find needle in haystacks sooner rather than later, leveraging the AI and technology. When I first started in pharmacovigilance, it was all about spend 90 minutes to process a good case, whereas now we have automated case processing. For those that outsource cases, they will know, from a $60 case, you're now looking at a $10 case over the period of 5-6 years. And that's because we're able to leverage technology. Leveraging NLP, again, I've had significant experience in the local literature management of using AI and natural language processing. We're able to extract data based on keywords that are driven and provided by pharmacovigilance experts. And all of this is helping us with that predictive modeling. It's helping us really understand the impact of our medicines and our products on patients, patients groups faster. And it's helping us make decisions around clinical trials, whether we want to move forward, whether we want to start to tweak the design, so on and so forth. And ultimately, again, some of the folk that I've worked with have said, our ability to implement AI and technology has enabled us to strengthen our compliance because AI doesn't stop working. Now, I say that, but I also feel that there really is the caveat, and that is you have to involve the quality, a matured and evolved quality management system who seek the skills of the pharmacovigilance professionals, the technologists as well. And that way, for a good audit and inspection outcome with AI, with these technology platforms, there must be an element of human oversight. There has to be that control, and there has to be the human oversight to make crucial decisions or looking at sample data sets, which enable us to validate that the quality of data that we're looking at is correct. It's of high quality. And we also need to make sure we're working with our technology partners to really make sure that the algorithms that we're using are validated. So together as an industry, we need to make sure that the AI that we use is a trusted source of AI. And the only way it's trusted is by that 3 or 4 layers of a robust QMS system, pharmacovigilance experts, validation of algorithms, and ensuring you start with good quality data that continues to be built upon. And that really brings me to my last slide. And that's around how we now need to evolve the way that one audits, be it at global level, local level, regional level, partner level. We must change the way that we are auditing. And that is because of the need to have technology. So one of the things that I've been working on at the moment with some of my friends and colleagues in industry was really been about what should an audit checklist look like today compared to what it looked like 12 months ago? What are the processes that we had previously in any PV ecosystem compared to how has that process evolved? What new skill sets, what new roles have been brought in? Have we upskilled? Have we brought in the right skill sets to continue the maintenance of this AI and technology? Is there validation? Is there a document that we can go to and subsequently keep as a reference document? And is there a backup plan for consistency? So, if there is a point of failure, how do we continue with business? And ultimately, how do we provide partners, regulators, global headquarters, our local affiliates, how do we provide them with confidence that actually what we are doing, what the AI is doing for us, is in line with what the process needs it to be? Vrishali, with that, I will pause and see if we've got any questions.
There are a few questions. I think they're still posting them. till then, can we talk about, you know, AI is now continuing to evolve. What are the most impactful roles it is playing in pharmacovigilance? You know, from automating probably case processing, predictive safety analytics. But how can companies ensure that compliance, you know, while leveraging all this advancements that's happening?
Okay, so I think there's two questions in that, Prashani. So
Yeah.
the first one's around the roles. So I actually think from a case processing perspective, we've got a well-established market for automation. You know, and if you think about large pharma, they're using some of the big names in safety databases and then leveraging upon that some good AI. And I should also say, Rashani, an important point over the last 2 or 3 years has been to make sure technology partners are providing open source codes that mean technology can talk to one another. And that's been the key, I think, to success. That's been an enabler to make sure truly end-to-end case processing we've been able to achieve. And you look at the, you know, these are documented cases with Pfizer, Roche, AstraZeneca, where they've been able to more than half the amount of minutes from a case processing perspective. So from a role point of view, there have now been, as I said, you've got more PV folk from what I have seen moving into the QMS area, more PV SMEs that are becoming business process experts. So I talk about a center of excellence for QMS. There's also the process center of excellence. So an expert in how do you manage literature? How do you manage local literature? How do you manage regulatory intelligence? You're seeing more of these specialist roles come up where an individual or a group of individuals are responsible for understanding what is the process today, how have we changed it, how do we expect it to change 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months from now, and what is the subsequent impact of that change on our technology, on our processes, so on and so forth. So I really feel, Vishali, that role of business process owner has become really important along with the QMS one, because going back to what I presented earlier, if our process is not right, if there is a flaw in that process, the entire workflow goes wrong. The second question you asked me, remind me, it was around function.
Yeah, so it was, just a second, I had made a note of it.
I think it was predictive.
It was about, oh, just a second, I've just made notes.
No. I think, Rashali, I think it was around the forecasting of being able to make predictions around the data that we have.
Yes. So it was about automated case processing to proactive safety analytics. How can companies ensure compliance while leveraging these advancements?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when you're looking at compliance, the first thing you need to set down, and this is with any manual as well as automated, but more so with automated, understand what are your baseline KPIs? What is the timeline that I need to process the case in? What is my acceptable or tolerance of quality that I need to be marking against? Those two, as an example, will help facilitate an understanding of where does it need, it's almost this decision tree triage. If case X comes in, does it need to be submitted to a regulator? Does it need to be submitted to a partner? Does it not need to be submitted? So working through that algorithm, which could be technology driven, AI driven, it could be manual, becomes essential. And you can only do that with a good baseline of KPIs. So I think that for me is fundamental to make sure that your compliance is being monitored. In addition to that, nothing changes with good project management. You know, weekly reporting, fortnightly reporting, monthly reporting, making sure you're doing prompt kappa analysis, root cause analysis. So all of that stays exactly the same. And that for me continues as we move forward in the world of AI.
I have one more question. As OpenAI becomes more integrated into pharmacovigilance, how can companies balance between automation with critical need for data security, regulatory compliance, and ethical use of AI?
Fantastic. That's a really great question. So, and maybe after this meeting, I can reference this, but there was a great report that has come out from Deloitte only this week. And it talked about how data security being used as AI, particularly in the life sciences for industry, has been one of the strongest in terms of integrity, compliance, userability. And I think that's wonderful from our perspective. And all companies as a standard, particularly when they're using technology, open source codes, AI, they have heightened the data security that protects their systems, which ultimately contains patient safety data. What we're also using is cloud-based systems. I think now more and more companies, in the last set of data I saw suggested that over 70% of clients are now moving to a cloud-based data set, which means as a pharma company, as an affiliate, we have a right to ask our database providers, our technology providers about what they are doing from a security perspective.
Exactly.
From a regulatory compliance thing, I think we've answered that, I guess, for Charlie in the question previously. Get
Yes.
great baselines in that you continue to measure, that you continue to improve on. You know, if 95% is your acceptable quality tolerance, 12 months from now, you should be working to 97%, 98%, so on and so forth. Then ethical AI use, I guess that's more of a philosophical question, in my opinion, because look, patient data, we've got the GDPR and we've got the data privacy laws that are in place, which prevents the transmission of patient data without being retracted. But more and more folk choose to share their personal data. And again, in an earlier presentation, I think we were talking about it, social media, patient registries, and therefore steps that social media and open registries are taking is making sure that folk tick a box to say, I am comfortable with my information being shared and being used for X, Y, or Z purposes. So there's more that can be done, but that is how companies are managing that risk associated with ethical AI. But I think that's a good question.
Lastly, just a second, let me check. No, we have. I wanted to ask you personally, with working with companies from different regions and, across the globe, what do you think when it comes to artificial intelligence? Are pharma companies globally ready to accept this evolving change? Or is it too soon for us because we have to first be clear of what change we want and then adapt, or just not just jump into the
So I think the first point for Shani is we have to change. Our industry demands that we must change. And and what you will see is I mean, again, let's say 3 years from now, Vishali, small pharma accepted that they had no right to technology and automation because they had small volumes of cases. That's not the case today. Today, they are saying we have a right to the same AI and technology platforms that large pharma have, because we still have to make the same critical decisions in rare disease, so on and so forth. So I believe the pharmaceutical industry has embraced AI and technology. The one thing I will say, and this is why, going back to one of my earlier slides, I said, don't be scared to ask questions. Nobody knows your processes better than you, whether you are in a global function, a local function, a regional function, QA function, or a PV function. Therefore, you must be forthright with your ideas. And I feel industry as a whole can do better about educating. And that's the key. And like I said, I mean, I made a point of paying myself to go on a course, for it was a 3-month course, did it in my own free time, but I felt empowered after doing that. And having done that, I'm now in a position where I can encourage my peers and my colleagues to do the same. And I feel, as a pharmacovigilance expert who wants to lead in business process, who wants to lead in system implementation and integration, it is important for them to embark on some kind of learning and education. And I believe industry needs to do a little bit more on that.
I think in days to come, this will also impact the hiring and onboarding of the people
Yeah.
in your teams as well.
Yeah. And Roshani, if I can, because I don't want to consume too much time, but the relationships that I have had with CTOs of the businesses I've worked is that we have been talking every day. And we're on two opposite poles of discussion from day one. But over a period of a few months, you can see us starting to come together, and boom. All of a sudden, we're saying the same thing. This is how we do it. And that's when technology meets with expertise. So that partnership is really important.
Exactly. I think that's what we talk about when we talk about drug safety symposium. We say that collaboration is the key, whether it is two regulators or two pharma companies or two pharmacovigilance professionals.
Mm.
The only way
Absolutely.
forward is collaborating with each other.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for taking us
Thank
through
you
the
for the
presentation
opportunity.
and such wonderful insights. I want to tell all the delegates who are attending, if you have any further questions, please feel free to share them with us. We will relay them to Myra, and she is there in Dubai on both the days, and she will be happy to answer all your questions
Absolutely.
personally as well.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Vishali.
Thank you so much. And with that, that was our last session. We will be seeing you shortly. Please, if you have any further doubts, details, connect with the team. Uh, See you in Dubai, 12th and 13th of February, the third edition of Drug Safety Symposium 2025, happening at Holiday Inn Dubai Science Park. Thank you so much.